we're going to be doing essentially 2 steps this morning, and we're going to try to get through it briskly, so there's time for questions at the end. But essentially, our information we're sharing is essentially 2 things. One is, why is it important that students be involved? And secondly, for students who want to get involved, what are the opportunities? How do they go about doing it? It's kind of a 2-step thing. I'm going to be talking about the first part, and that is, why is it important? And I think that there is and you hear this a lot among, I hear a lot among parents, among other folks, you really need to get involved and such. And it's almost like people feel like, it's just naturally a good thing to do. And I know from a parent's perspective, it's often because you want them to meet other people, you want them to make friends and such. And that is all very true, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I'm also going to, I was going to say bore you, but I'm going to say inform you about some really valid educational reasons that the research has shown time and time again are the benefits of students being involved outside the classroom. So I'm going to talk about what do we mean by student involvement and why is it important. A couple of what we call learning myths. One, that faculty members influence student learning only in the classroom. That is absolutely not true. A big part of the impact of the college experience is determined by the way that students interact with what this particular publication calls the major agents of socialization, faculty and student peers. Now, Tami and I don't take it personally. We're administrators. We are lower on the totem pole in terms of this value we have interacting with students. The number one influence of students is their behavior as fellow students, and then after that it's faculty. And now, on a side note, as students get older, closer to seniors, that influence starts balancing out. In the beginning, it's much more students than faculty, but as they get closer to seniors, faculty start having equal influence with other students. The other myth is that students' academic and non-academic experiences are totally separate and unrelated. It's kind of like work and home. You do what's in the classroom, then you go out and you have your fun outside of the classroom. And that absolutely isn't true. Many of the important changes that occurred in college are a cumulative result of their set of all the kind of experiences that students have, both in and outside of classroom. And so you want to have valuable experiences in, you want to have experiences out that in many ways kind of complement and shape what happens in, and you want to have them sustained and over time while they're in college. So what do we mean when we say student involvement? Here's a definition, but essentially what we're trying to say is it's not just the activity you do. It really is, it certainly is the physical investment of time. Time on task is still the biggest predictor of student learning in whatever they do. It may sound overly simple, and it probably is. The more time students invest in something, the more they're going to learn from it. And so certainly investing that time is what we mean by involvement, but it's also the psychological involvement. It's having a sense of ownership and really being committed to something. And we see this all the time in students. We see a student organization, and you can have 2 members of the same student organization, and that doesn't mean they have this, they may show the same on a roster, but that doesn't mean they have the same level of involvement. One's at every meeting, one's participating, one's volunteering, one's showing up early to help set up. The other one comes to every once in a while in a meeting, never does anything, and those are whole different levels of involvement. So involvement really also means that sense of ownership and commitment to what you're involved in. Why is it important? Again, this kind of goes back to this notion of time on task. The more time and energy students invest in the learning process, the more intensely they engage in their own education. Here are some results that have been consistently proven in studies in higher education. The more students are involved, the greater their own growth and achievement, whether it be academically, whatever. Students who are involved do better academically in the classroom. In some ways, that may be counterintuitive. You're thinking, well, if they're spending a lot of time being involved, that's going to cut into their study time. And the truth of the matter is, that's not what happens. The more they're involved and the more they create this sense of community, the more invested they are in their entire university experience, including their academics. The greater their satisfaction with their educational experiences on campus. The greater their persistence in college. That's higher education word meaning persistence, meaning our retention, that they persist on each year on to graduation. and the more likely they're going to be continuing their learning. So the more they get involved when they're in college, the more they're going to be invested in continuing their learning once they leave. So this is what, again, all the studies in higher education have proven time and time again, but you might ask, well, how do we know that's true at Chapman? Well, we do watch this very closely. For example, we just recently did a series of analyses of our last year's student freshman class. Now, I think theoretically you're all parents of sophomores. This is the sophomore track. You look a little young to be the parent of a sophomore. But actually, I'm sorry, all of you look young to be the parents of a sophomore. Yes, I know. I caught that one halfway through. And so anyway, all right, but I know this is the sophomore track. So this fall of class of 2010 is you, your students. So here, and I would tell you overall that the retention rate, meaning the percentage of freshmen who start as freshmen and return to the university as sophomore, is really very high. The average for four-year universities is somewhere in the upper 70s. For selective universities like us, it tends to be in the mid to upper 80s. The last 2 years, we have been in the low 90s. So we're really doing well. But you can see the freshmen who were not members of a student club or organization last year was about 88.8%, and those who were members, those 269 freshmen who joined a club their freshman year, 96.1%. And there's other things too. Well, this is more bigger, but what we do is, as part of this analysis, we break down the freshman class into what we call quintiles, and that is mostly it's by predeterminate factors, SAT, high school GPA, and things, and we break down for lack of a better word, the academic preparedness of our class. Luckily, we're fortunate our entire class is prepared, but in a relative sense, we break down into quintiles, and you can see, which is pretty typical on the left in the non-club one, the lower quintile you go, the lower the retention rate. The less academically prepared, the more you would suspect that the students in that group are less likely to return. But you can see in the club group, it doesn't make any difference which quintile you're in. If you're involved, you stay. Same is relatively true for students in our fraternities and sororities. Again, 89.4%. Again, that's a retention rate that most schools would kill for. But for our 341 students who joined fraternity and sorority, it was 93.2. And again, with a slight exception of the bottom quintile, again, doesn't make any difference how prepared you are. If you're involved in a club and you're involved in a Greek organization, you come back. Athletics, very similar. Non-athletes versus athletes. And I don't think I did I guess I did do the quintiles for that. But again, all above the 90th percentile, regardless of what quintile you're in. For those of us who work in this business, this is very logical, because we know that when students form those connections with teammates, with fraternity brothers and sisters, when they find other people in a club because they share a common interest or value, that's when they start feeling committed to the institution and want to stay here. And that's kind of where I've come back to somewhat where I started at. The students' peer group is the single most potent source of their influence on their own growth. In other words, what their fellow students do is going to shape their behavior and actions more than anything else. And that magnitude, that effect, is going to be proportional to the level of interaction they have with it, the intensity and frequency. So if you're involved just a little bit, you're going to get a little bit of the benefit. But if you really jump in and you're really involved, then the benefits of that are going to be exponential the more involved that you get. And actually, I too have 2 seconds for a little. I'm originally from Texas. We tell lots of stories. And this is a true story about, it's high school, but the same kind of thing applies. I was at we had a speaker once who was a silver medalist in the '68 Olympics in Mexico City. He was in the 200 meters, I believe. And he was telling the story about his son who was a junior in high school who was also running track. And he noticed his son was kind of limping. And he says, "What's wrong?" And his son told him, "I've got a bad case of shin splints. It's really bothering me." And his father, the silver medalist, said, "Oh, I have a great exercise for shin splints." And he gave him this explanation. "You do this in 2 or 3 days, you won't even notice them." So the son said, "Oh, thanks, Dad." So Dad had to go out of town. Their speaking engagement was gone about 4 or 5 days, and he came back. He saw his son still limping. And he says, "Oh, those shin splints still bother you?" He said, "They're still terrible." And he goes, and those exercises I gave you didn't help a bit? And he goes, oh, those, I asked a buddy on the team, and he said they wouldn't work. So, all right, so my point of this is, even if Dad is an Olympic medalist in track, Dad's word doesn't carry near the weight of my 16-year-old buddy on the track team. And again, as students get older, that changes, but particularly for freshmen, a little less so with sophomores and moving up, that influence of those students matters. And that's why I tell students all the time, as we plan things for freshmen, we know if we tell freshmen this is good for you, but the upper class students are saying, nah, that's a load, don't bother with that, we will never win. It's important that we communicate things that the older students have a buy-in to as well, because if their students are getting mixed messages between administration and fellow students, they're going to listen to their fellow students. That's just the way that it works. But there's another reason, and this is the last thing I want to get to. In addition to students who are more involved, learn more, stay more, graduate more, they also learn things outside the classroom that are directly relevant to the kind of skills that employers are looking for. This is something that every year this group called NACE, National Association of College Employers, do a survey of employers about the job outlook, and among the other things they ask is, what qualities are you looking for in your college graduates coming out? And so here are their top 10, and I have highlighted just a few. Ability to work in a team structure. If any of you have sons or daughters who are, well, gosh, in a Greek organization getting ready for skit night, or, for example, this week is the Purple Tie Affair, which is the Fiji fraternity event. That's a major event. They're getting donations, they're booking things, they're selling tickets. All the kind of things that go into that are really significant responsibilities, and they all have to work together. Involvement really helps develop that. Verbally communicate with persons inside and outside the organization. The example I just gave, I think it still applies. Ability to make decisions and solve problems. This is one of the things that's really important to distinguish. And this is one of the things I tell students, that is difference between like student government in college and student government in high school. Student government in high school and student council, they do all these things, they meet and such, but they really just advise everything. They don't ever really make decisions. And when you actually have consequences to your decisions, that's when you learn. Our student government has a $250,000 budget that they allocate. And so when they give this group X amount and this one double X, there's consequences to that. And there's real decisions to be made. And so having to learn how to do that in a kind of a laboratory setting outside the classroom is very beneficial. Again, ability to plan, organize, proficiency with computer software. So why did I put that there? Any student organization that's active on campus is doing things with a website, a Facebook page, is got email lists. There are opportunities for the practical use of computers in all kinds of student involvement. Matter of fact, we're looking to get an intern for an alum who is working on has a project this summer, and I was getting some suggestions from students and administrators about students who might be good for it. The alum really wanted someone with computer science, but all the recommendations we're getting were music majors and PR ad majors and things who are really good with this. It just wasn't necessarily their major. And again, ability to sell and influence others, that's a really big part of what we do, whether it be trying to encourage people to come to your organization, to join your organization, to invest in your organization. All those things are skills that outside the classroom, student involvement opportunities give them the chance to practice and apply. So that's what involvement is, why it's important, what are the benefits of it, and now Tami's going to talk about how you can get students involved.
All right. There are so many different ways for students to get involved, and given everything that Jerry has just shared, I really do hope that you encourage your students to find ways to get involved. Each one of them are going to have different interests, different career plans, and hopefully what we try to do here at Chapman is offer opportunities to meet whatever it is that they're interested in. So the first question that your student is going to have to ask is whether or not they want to get involved on campus or off. I just really want to encourage them to consider getting involved on campus. On-campus leadership positions, like Jerry said, give students an opportunity to connect with other peers, with faculty and staff on campus, and not only does it help them to create that sense of community, it also allows them to develop relationships with faculty and staff that can be great references later for them. And that's something that sometimes students don't think ahead. So when they're applying for jobs, they're not thinking about, when I'm a junior and I'm going to start applying for graduate school or for jobs outside of college, who will I ask to be a reference and how well will they know me? So these are people that have the opportunity to get to know your students better. They also will have the opportunity to work in positions that are catered towards their class and their final schedules. Obviously here at Chapman, when we're hiring students and they have we're trying to schedule them for hours. We know that their academic success is our primary mission, and so we're going to allow them to flex their schedule around their classes and especially around finals to be able to change that really easily. And the last thing that we do, just so that you know, which is something that students have to factor in, is we do limit students working on campus to 19 hours a week, which also does match with the research that shows that that's really beneficial for students. So if that's something that's financially feasible for you, that's something that Chapman takes into account. Student organizations are a great way for students to get involved. It's a great entry point for students. And so if they don't already come in with leadership experience, this is a great way for them to get involved. We currently have over 100 student organizations. And if they don't find something that they like, they can meet with me and start a new club. Just in fall alone of this past semester, we created 27 new clubs here at Chapman. So it's a great opportunity for students, if they have an interest, they don't see that club on the list, to create that group, to find other people on campus. And even if it, I say if the club lasts a year or 2 years and they make a bunch of great friends in that is worth it for me. So I will spend as much time as I need to work with that student to create that club, to help them to get out, to recruit other students who have those common interests with them. So whether they be academic organizations or leisure organizations or some sort of recreational sports organization, we can sit down with them and help them to create that opportunity for themselves. The way that they can find out most of their involvement opportunities is through our system called OrgSync. We call it our Online Student Involvement Center, and it really does have all of the information about all of our existing organizations, as well as a lot of our departmental involvement opportunities. So the website is there. It's just chapman.orgsync.com, and it's very easy for students to get on there, to type in keywords, things that they're interested in, and it pops up all of the involvements that match that. We also have, I didn't put it on here, but we have a student org matching survey, which allows students to fill out a very short survey about their major, their hobbies, their interests, their availability, whether they want to get involved with clubs that just meet during the day or the evening. And the survey will pull up matches for the students as well. And so if they go to this website, they actually can link to that information as well. So lots of easy ways for them to start finding information. Student Government Association, we've talked a little bit about student government. Student government is a wonderful opportunity for students to get involved in advocacy here on Chapman's campus. So they are representing students and student needs. So elections will be held next week for student government. They actually have 23 Senate positions that are broken down by class, by academic colleges. They have a couple of student org senator positions and a couple of at-large senator positions. There's also exec board positions, including a president and vice president, and as you can see, a number of other different positions that students can apply for. So the top two bullets are positions that students run for in elections, and the other positions are ones that they apply for. And they're just really great opportunities. They work really closely with Dean Price, and they get the opportunity to really learn a lot about the institution and how it runs and how to advocate for student needs. University Program Board is one of our newer organizations. It's our large-scale programming and small-scale programming body. It's an opportunity for students to really jump into, to take a very large student fee-driven budget and to plan concerts, plan excursions off campus, to plan open mic nights, just a lot of different opportunities on campus. As you can see, there are multiple committees that are run by a chair of the organization. So if they're interested in special events and traditions like homecoming, or if they want to get involved in more diversity and awareness programming, speakers in the arts, music and entertainment, weekend programming, and we do have a marketing team that markets all of those events that go on. And they will be hiring starting next month. So those positions will be open for students as well. We have a very large and very active Greek life system here, which is very visible on campus. We have 7 fraternities and 7 sororities that you can see there, as well as a couple of Greek council, some Greek leadership opportunities. So if you want to be in some of the governing bodies in the Greek community, we have a Panhellenic and an interfraternity council, as well as a Greek Honor Society Order of Omega. And they are very active. They're very service and academic oriented, and they just have a great presence on campus, and we really enjoy having them around and doing amazing programming like they do. Our Department of Housing and Residence Life has some of your traditional college positions, including the resident advisor position, office assistants, AV technicians, package room assistants, and some really great entry-level opportunities for involvement. So each of the halls has a hall council. There's a residence hall association, and students can get involved with our peer judicial system called the Peer Conduct Board. That's also a great opportunity for them to learn a little bit about how that system works. I work in the Department of Student and Campus Life, so every year we hire 20 to 40 students in our office, both work study and non-work study positions. As you can see, we have a huge variety of different positions through our office. So if students are interested in marketing or graphic design, we have those types of positions. We have students that work directly with all of the over 100 student organizations on campus. We have students that work with diversity and equity programming. Student civic engagement includes sustainability, service and leadership programs, and so we do a variety of those on campus. And hopefully you've seen our beautiful new student union downstairs. So we have a huge staff of students that either works down at the front desk and up in our office coordinating all of the logistics for the student union. So those are new opportunities. Yeah. How many?
Are there any jobs?
There certainly are. So
should my son come to you?
They should come see me. So we just opened up our positions. Our first round of interviews is starting, but we have both work study and non-work study, and so we'll be doing probably a second round of interviews as well. So we will be looking for more students to work for us, and we love to hire students who are just really enthusiastic about Chapman, who want to get involved here. So send your students to us. It's a great office to work for. I'm obviously biased, but our students I think they glow. They love to work up in our office. They really love Chapman, and so that's a lot of what we're looking for, is just providing that opportunity for them to not only have that sense of community, and I think all the positions really do that. It gives them a sense of team and community, within the larger Chapman community, and hopefully through that they find other communities to get involved with. They're very influential amongst each other, so if one is involved in something, it's easy for them to pull the other into that involvement as well.
Tami, I was just going to mention along the same line, this is the time of year that most departments start looking for their leadership positions for the next year. So not just Tami's department, Student and Campus Life, Residence Life is starting to search for RAs.
Yes.
Orientation Office is starting to look for orientation assistants. So if students are looking for the really meaty student leadership positions, this is the time that they're going through it for next fall.
Right. Yes.
If your student has work-study money available, can that money be used over the summer, or can it only be used?
It cannot, actually. So work study starts when the classes start on campus. So I'll tell you about some more involvement opportunities. Orientation, like Jerry just mentioned, orientation is an amazing opportunity, and hopefully last year you were able to see that program and see all the students that are involved in orientation. We hire around 100 orientation assistants that assist with the orientation program, and 5 orientation coordinators that spend the summer really coordinating all the logistics of that program. Those are amazing opportunities as well, and they will be hiring those students. So students should keep their eye out for all the advertisement for that. And some other really key leadership roles on campus that I want to make sure that students know about. The Ambassadors Program is a group of students that represent Chapman at a lot of the major large-scale and/or fundraising events. They are kind of our official student representatives for university advancement and for most of our major events on campus. It's a wonderful opportunity and obviously a great honor to be selected as an ambassador. So students who are interested in serving that capacity, who love to, meet other people, to work with our board of trustees, to meet with our donors, to represent Chapman to parents when they come to campus. This is a group of students that does that, and they do an amazing job.
Oh, yes. Do you have to fill out FAFSA to be involved, or is that something completely different?
That is completely
Right.
completely separate. Yeah. So students can apply. Any students can apply for these positions. The one thing that they do need to look at is whether the positions are work study or non-work study. And most of our leadership positions are either. You can be work study or non-work study, but there are some that are specifically targeted just to work study positions. But that is completely separate from the FAFSA process. The campus tour guides, hopefully you've also seen them in action. They obviously are the ones that manage our campus tour program. And the Interfaith Council is run through the Fish Interfaith Center, and it gives students the opportunity to interact with other students who are really active in their faith-based communities. So there are wonderful opportunities in all those other locations. The last thing I just want to talk about, obviously, is just there are so many different ways other than leadership positions or leadership jobs or on-campus jobs. The intramural program is a wonderful opportunity to get friends together to participate in an intramural sport. The intramural program typically runs about 2 different sports each semester, and so students can pick one that they're interested or do both. Our Panther Escapes program is an opportunity for students to really appreciate living in Southern California. So we have such a great climate here, and there's so many different outdoor opportunities and things to do outside of the university, and Panther Escapes just plays off of that. So they'll do kayaking or hiking or
Ski trips to Big Bear. We gave surf
yes.
lessons, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
It's a wonderful opportunity just to get out and enjoy Southern California. We also run an alternative spring break program, which allows students to participate in service over spring break. And we're running a variety of different programs, including the Grand Canyon, a recurring program up in San Jose, one to Catalina Island. So it's just a great opportunity for students to serve over the break. And our Next Step Social Justice Retreat is an annual retreat for students who want to participate in a program that gives them a weekend to participate in social justice dialogue, so diversity and social justice issues. And it's, as you can see, that's the picture there. It's a wonderful program and a great opportunity for the students who participate. And I didn't want to overlook the academic involvement opportunities that exist. We've talked about a lot of leadership opportunities that are paid. There are so many other student employment positions available in different academic and student service departments on campus. And again, a great way to, to get some work experience, to develop some relationships on campus, and just to be here on the Chapman campus and to spend more time here. Internships are a wonderful opportunity for students to go out and to get experience out in the community working with different organizations and companies. We also do internships here on campus, so I've had students that have done internships in my office for me. So there are opportunities both on and off campus. And one of the great things about Chapman is just the amazing undergraduate research opportunities here. That's one of the nice things about a smaller personalized education school, is that we have these opportunities for undergraduate students to get a lot of face-to-face time with faculty, and doing undergraduate research is an amazing opportunity that not a lot of undergraduate students get at larger institutions. So those are just to highlight some of the opportunities. Do any of you have questions for us?
Yes.
Do you have any tips for the students who applied for over 30 jobs and didn't find anything? Tips for getting something for next year?
Yeah. Well, for work study, we had a large influx of work study eligible students, that overwhelmed number of jobs we had, but we added some jobs. So if your son or daughter has work study and can't find a job, have them come see us, the Dean of Students Office. We will help get them connected to a job, because we want work study students who really want the job to get one. That's not as easily available as for students who aren't on work study, but for students who have it in their financial aid package, we really want to make sure we get them connected.
Yes.
And Tami is one of the biggest employers of students, and one of the advantages we have in our area is that we have hours outside of typical office hours, which is part of the conflict that students have. They go apply for these jobs, but they only have 8 to 5 kind of hours.
Right.
We're a 24/7 operation in our area, so not quite
Right.
24/7, but pretty close. So we have lots of other additional
Feels
opportunities.
like it sometimes.
Yes.
Was there a question?
So just to follow up
Yeah.
on that question, so does that mean that there are existing right now work-study jobs for students? And then I think I heard you say earlier that the students are starting to prepare for next term
Yes.
jobs as well, right?
Well, with some jobs. The jobs in which there are kind of more, like I said, more of a kind of, some of these leadership positions are also paid positions. Those are more of a search process. In the fall, there will be another round of jobs going open. But some of them are posting now. So it's just really important that students keep on that. But if students with work study go through the process and aren't having any luck, we will get them a job.
One of the things I do suggest too is I hear some students say that they'll start when they come in the fall. A lot of the positions post over the summer, so I encourage them to start looking over the summer and seeing what starts posting on the Student Employment Board, and they can get online and look at that. And obviously, they can still come back in the fall and start searching as well. But it helps to get a little jump start on that.
So it's been very frustrating.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Because my son has done all of that and he still didn't have a job.
That's why I want you to come see them, because
Yeah.
what happens is a lot of these offices, they post the jobs, they get 1 million applicants for them, they get them filled, but what happens is 3 weeks into it, that person's schedule changes, they can't do it, and they don't necessarily repost again. And so we do the first kind of wide net, and for those who don't have any luck, we will then take the, I don't want to use militaristic, but at first we use the kind of machine gun approach, and then we'll use the rifle approach, and we will find them a job. And actually, in some cases, we've gotten permission from the work study office to create a job for a student if we can't find one. So we have not been unsuccessful yet with the student who does it. What we also find sometimes is students who have come to us aren't as flexible as they need to be. I'm not saying that's the case in your case, but some students are saying, well, I have class on Wednesdays, so I don't want to work on Wednesdays anytime and such. And the more parameters you put on it, the more difficult it is to match it up. But if a student's willing to be flexible, we will find them a job. Absolutely. Yes, okay.
But since we're on that subject,
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring up, I can't think of the name of the office, but where they I guess maybe post the jobs, it's not your office.
It was a
Student
Student Employment
Employment.
Office and Human Resources.
Student Employment Office.
Or the career.
Well, there's also, we have a
Right.
career development office too,
Maybe
Yes.
it was
but they
that.
don't do the student employment. They do
Right.
more like internships and helping
Okay,
students.
I'm not sure where he went, but
Okay.
basically, they just said, well, go to the website and see what's there.
That's right.
And he applied to many of them.
Yes.
Probably this gentleman, probably the same thing. And then I said, well, go find that teacher and go, for
Yeah.
a teacher,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
And, 2 months into the semester, the teacher would say, oh, well, I filled that position 2 months ago,
yeah,
but it's still on the website. There are still a lot
yeah.
on that job.
This is actually a lesson I hope that you will pass on to your children a lot. They've all, it frustrates me when students do the right things over and over again and they don't have any luck. But at some point, it's okay for them to say, the system that has been communicated to me is not delivering. I need some other kind of assistance. And that's what our Dean of Students Office is for, to help get them to the right spot. So if they're doing what they need to do and they're applying and they're not having any luck, have them come see us.
Definitely.
We will get them something. All right, good questions. And student employment is a really nice way to get involved, particularly if you can get involved with an academic department, with the faculty you have in class. That's tremendous. But a lot of our students kind of find a home away from home in different administrative and academic units on campus too. So, all right. Uh-oh, we're wrapping up. I can tell.
No, we have time for a couple more questions.
Okay, any more? We got last chance for any more questions? Because we're going to go down to OTSUKA.
I have cards up here too.
Oh, sure.
And I do
Yes.
have, if you're interested in the OrgSync website, I have buttons with the website on here, so you can.
Yes,
A lot of the jobs are opening now. Yes.
for next year.
For next year. So is it best to come see you, or is it best to try this for a month or so, and then if you have the same experience?
Well, I'm
then
talking about
you
two
can-
different kinds of jobs,
Yes.
though. There's the jobs that are on the website that are like student employment kind of jobs. Those you want to keep going to the website on. These are kind of like student leadership positions that are paid positions. That's kind of almost like a job search process you would do for any kind of job after college. So those come see there, but they're kind of parallel things. You won't sign the kind of jobs that Tami's hiring for necessarily on the website, or are yours on the website?
They are, but really typically our primary advertising is through kind of campus advertising. So we'll have advertisement on the Wilson-Tron screen on the field. We'll put advertising in the dining hall. So we're looking for students who are kind of paying attention and looking for those sorts of leadership opportunities. So if you have a student that's interested in some sort of leadership position, feel free to have them come see me. I can kind of walk them through the timelines of all the different jobs on campus and when they start, around the time when they start hiring. I can even call those departments and find out specifically when those applications become available. So they're staggered throughout the spring semester, but a lot of those are leadership positions, paid or unpaid positions. And then over the course of the spring, summer, fall, kind of your regular office positions, filing, doing different things within the different departments, those positions will continue to open up as well.
If you have students interested in some of the leadership positions like the ambassador program and that sort of in student council, but they're going to be abroad for a semester, does that completely eliminate them for the year, or?
No, it doesn't, because we strongly encourage study abroad.
Right.
It's something we have to keep in mind, but many of Tami's students study abroad. We just have to work around having mid-year replacements or things like that. We never want students to be punished for that. Matter of fact, students who are going to be, like for example, they're studying abroad now, so they're not even here to apply for these positions, we let them apply the fall before they leave, even before we do the regular process. We do not want students to be penalized for that.
And a lot of our processes are online, so we have students applying for positions from abroad. And so they'll submit their applications from abroad, and we'll do long distance calls if we need to do a phone interview with them. We will go ahead and set that up as well.
But I know that they're applying for ambassador now, but if they're going to be gone for the fall semester.
It is fine. The
It'll be a
ambassador
consideration,
position
but
is
it won't eliminate them.
it's a
Absolutely.
long-term sort of position as well, so they'll be back.
And these positions are enormously competitive too. Okay. Yes, sir.
So my son has work study.
Okay.
He has not found a job. Specifically, which department does he need to go to?
Have them come see my office, Dean of
Start
Students'
there.
office.
Okay, thank you.
We're not really the job placement people, but we have connections. Yeah, that's right. When your students are really when the students get frustrated, some are happy they haven't found a job, don't get me wrong. But the ones who really are frustrated and need it and haven't had any luck, have them come see me.
I'm going to go ahead and close off questions and you can maybe
We'll hang around a minute.
individual questions
Are they in
afterwards.
the same group? Are you in the same office?
No,
No.
two different offices.
Dean of Students' office, and I have a card here too.
Student and Campus Life.
Yes.
When you say come and see us,
Okay, me. Then I'll see if Tami has a job.
Right.
But I have sent some to Yeah, have them come see me. Myself or I have an associate dean, Deanne Yoakum Gaffney. Between the two of us, we'll sit down with a student, kind of sort out what the situation is, and we will find them something. Okay, thanks
Thank
everyone.
you.